everybody, it's Ian the Off-Kilter Crafter. I hope you're having a great day today. I know that Halloween has officially passed us for another year, but I couldn't help but do one more Halloween project, and it's not exactly Halloween, it's kind of a Halloween and Day of the Dead. I can't say that name properly in Spanish, so I'm not even going to try and butcher it. And I have some of this great Day of the Dead handmade paper that I think is going to work great for today's project. So I'm kind of combining Halloween and Day of the Dead, which a lot of people may think are the same thing, and it's not. In fact, Day of the Dead happens here on November 2nd. So we're going to use this paper to do a background, and then I'm going to use some other stamps and ink to add a little Halloween twist to it. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I am going to do is I'm going to cut a piece of this off so that way I can get it ready for my card. Next, I have my stitched rectangle die from Simon's Stamp, and I'm going to tape this into place. I kind of framed out what I want it to look like, I think, so I'm going to put it there, and I'm going to cut off the excess paper and run this through my die cut machine. Next up, I have some Desert Storm cardstock. This is from Nina. It is a 100-pound cardstock, so I'm cutting it at 4 1/4, and then I'm going to score both of these at 5 1/2, and I'll hold on to one of them for whenever I need it next, but they're both going to get scored at 5 1/2 to make a standard A2 sized card. Next, I'm taking some purple tape and I'm just going to mask off the top of my card here, or in this case it would end up being the back side of the card. I just want to mask that off because I'm going to do some ink blending here in a moment. I'm going to grab my dot liner, and this is thin paper. It's kind of almost like a grocery bag weight. It's not very thick at all, so just some regular dot adhesive will work perfectly for it to keep it down and in place while I work on it. Next up, I've put this Prima stencil down, and I'm going to use some carved pumpkin distress oxides with a blending tool, and I'm just going to blend this, and I'm going to put it all the way across my panel through the stencil. I'm not covering up my panel, but I do want you to notice that I am having it bleed off the edges, so I'm actually coloring even onto the Nina cardstock. I'm not just keeping it focused right over the Day of the Dead paper. Can think for a minute. It's hard for me to ink blend and talk at the same time, so I'm gonna finish ink blending this, and then we'll move on to our next step. Next up, I'm going to take the Stamp Set's Happy Halloween Mini Blueprints, and this is Tim Holtz. I don't remember if I said that yet or not, but anyways, I'm going to grab an acrylic block for this. Let me see, is this one big enough? This one's just going to be barely big enough, and I'm going to stamp this out onto some white paper. I'm using some Memento Tuxedo Black ink to stamp this out because I am going to be using some Copic colors, so I do want to make sure that I'm using a Copic friendly ink. Next, I'm going to grab my 2 Copic colors here in orange, and I'll throw a little green in just a moment. I'm not going to do anything special. This is the same orange that I always use, YR09 and YR68. So actually I need to start with the lighter color first and then move into the darker color. So I'm not great at Copic coloring, and that's why I tend to not show a lot of detail whenever I am coloring. I do love that Tim Holtz makes it easier because he gives you all the spaces that are going to have shadows or be a little bit darker just right there in the stamp, so I love that. Anyways, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to kind of cut this out, and I'm not going to be very precise with it. I'm just going to cut it out like it is, because it's a blueprint. It's not supposed to be perfect, right? So If I wanted to, I could go in and do some fussy cutting of the pumpkin, but I really want a little bit of everything on there. So I'm just gonna leave that in. Next, I'm gonna take some foam adhesive and put it onto the back of my little pumpkin. Now, if I was to do this over again, I would probably use some of the same cardstock to color in my pumpkin, but it's kind of a nice focal area, so I wasn't too afraid about using it. Next up, I'm taking the Happy Halloween sentiment and I'm inking it up once again using that Memento Tuxedo Black ink, so that way it matches the ink that I used on the pumpkin. And I'm gonna stamp this, again, I have it on an acrylic block, try saying that 5 times fast. And I'm just gonna stamp it up in the corner over here so that it goes across my scene. Okay, I messed up on that. I didn't even think about black on black. It's not gonna show up at all, but I have a way to fix it. I have this strip and we're gonna add a little accent piece onto the corner here. It's gonna be a little strange, but I think overall it's gonna work out okay. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna run my dot adhesive over the back of this and just clean this up a little bit so that way it hides my boo-boo and I don't have to worry about it. There we go, I hid my boo-boo. No one will be any the wiser that I messed up there, and it looks perfect as a little accent or splash of color on here, so I think that plays off of the little green that I put here on my pumpkin, so I think that works out perfectly. So that's today's card. Super easy, super quick, just a few items to put on there, and I like how it turned out. If you liked today's video, give it a thumbs up and let YouTube know that you like my video, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below and subscribe to my YouTube channel and get great updates every time I post a new video or go live. I hope everybody has a great day, and remember guys, normal's just a setting on the dryer. Bye!